Good evening and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the country get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer does apply. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. Tonight, as usual, we are soliciting questions and comments from you via Twitter at Mason Roundtable and or with the hashtag TMR episode 19. That's TMR episode 19. We'll go around and do introductions. I will begin with my name, John Ruark, the past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia, and I'm currently the chaplain and lodge education officer. I will hand it off to Brother Robert Johnson.
Brother Robert Johnson from Waukegan Lodge, number 78 in Waukegan, Illinois. I'm the senior warden there and the host of Whence Came You podcast.
Excellent. Nick?
Nick Johnson, past master, Corinthian Lodge number 67 in Big Time, Farmington, Minnesota. And I also run a blog, millennialfreemason.com.
Excellent. Juan?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Juan Sepulveda, and I am a free agent from Eola Lodge number 207 in Orlando, Florida, and I am the host of the Winding Stairs podcast.
Excellent. And Jason Richards.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Richards. I'm a member of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 and the senior deacon of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia.
Excellent. All right. Tonight, as usual, we start with Masonic news, and although in the past couple episodes Masonic news has been light, wow, this week has been very busy. And so in no particular order, we'll start with the fact of the United Grand Lodge of England recognizing the Grand Lodge of France. Have you guys seen this? Thoughts, questions, comments?
Well, at least according to the United Grand Lodge of England's website, it looks like actually all three of the home lodges, so that's the United Grand Lodge of England, Grand Lodge of Scotland, and also the Grand Lodge of Ireland have all agreed to renew recognition for the Grand Lodge of France, the Grand Lodge National of France.
Francaise, or
I know. I'm thinking about it in French. So anyway. And so apparently, it doesn't really change anything here in the States. Every Grand Lodge is going to have to renew relations with the Grand Lodge National de France. But it appears at least that the Grand Lodge National de France has come back into the fold. So
they got their stuff together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
if you ever read, oh sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, if you read Hodap's blog, type in that and then GLNF, when you're searching it. It was just horrendous, the whole story. So it's kind of nice to know that everything has been worked out, because there's a lot of brothers that were kind of held in the lurch, a lot of English brothers that were plural members, and so it's kind of nice to know that it's all been fixed. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the important things that I've seen some comments on some of the Reddit threads on that, as well as some of the comments to Hodap's blog, which say, at the end, it's glad that we can all kind of get together and resolve our differences and do this in a very fraternal and, nice way. So that's good.
Well, I think it also brings about the good that comes with the idea of recognition. It's kind of like states declaring independence, nation states declaring independence. Like when Kosovo declared independence, the only reason that it was allowed to remain a state was because, the U.S. and a bunch of others said, yes, we recognize you. And, if a Grand Lodge jurisdiction or governing body is doing something it shouldn't be, or really, not conducting itself in a way that a Masonic governing, it's good that we have this system of recognition in place so that we can make sure that among independent, autonomous governing bodies, we can keep some modicum of understanding and some modicum of regularity.
Hmm. Agreed. Also tonight, wanted to mention that according to the United Grand Lodge of England's YouTube page, which I did not know they had their own YouTube channel, but they came out with a really neat 10-minute video about what it means to be a Freemason. And what I like about it is it's yet another kind of little PR spin of, hey, here's who we are. They have lots of young guys, they have lots of old guys, and how they interact. They really take the family spin on it. And it's a really neat video. I did share that on the Facebook page a couple days ago, and it's worth the watch. It's also kind of another thing that I think lodges should use to reemphasize, what it's like to be a Mason, the values you get out of it, and just a new spin for those who don't know what Freemasonry is.
Even if in some places in Britain you actually have to declare your membership in Freemasonry now. But we'll get to that soon.
Yeah. Did any of you guys see the video?
Yeah, I watched it. It actually came through on the Scottish Rite Southern Jurisdictions email list, and it came up, and I was like, "Oh, cool, a new video, whatever," And I clicked it. It was 10 minutes, and I was still just waking up in the morning. It's first thing I do. It's my morning paper, right? I pick up my phone, and I hit watch, and and it's 10 minutes, and literally I went, do I have time for this 10 minutes, right? And so I clicked watch it or whatever, and within 3 minutes, my wife is over my shoulder, laying on my chest. She's watching it with me. She's like, "Oh, that's a really good video." I said, "Yeah, it was pretty good." What I liked about it was they didn't go into, degrees or any of this stuff. It went into what I got out of that video. Really, it felt like they showcased a bond that really happened in the friendships that people form. And it was really cool. I thought it's the first time I've seen a video that kind of focused on that one thing. The dad says, I said, "Well, why don't you try it?" It was kind of weird. Somebody goes, "Well, I'm going to join a lodge, but I don't want to join because I don't know what it's going to be." Well, try it. People don't think they can just try Masonry.
It's a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No returns.
33-day money-back guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny you say that because when I was expressing interest in joining the fraternity, just going a little anecdote here, a little side note, my brother-in-law, he says, "Oh, you got to tell me." It's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "When you get in, when you find out, let me know if this is true." So he says, I did some military funerals, and the Masons would go off and do their own ceremony at the gravesite. And we all don't know what went down, but we said, well, they all wear their Masonic rings, right? So we just figured they were cutting off the ring finger, taking that ring back, because it's once a Mason, always a Mason, and we're getting our rings back.
Dead on.
Wow.
And I said, yes, that's exactly what we do. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I don't know where it came up
Lucky
with
it's
this
the
stuff.
finger they cut.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know where these things start, but I was like, that's kind of cool. I want to join just to see if that's true. I want to try it. But to the point, there's a perception of once a Mason, always a Mason. You can't, you're in for life. And while that's true for those who are committed to it, there is the option, right, to try it.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
I was always told, you can demit, but all that means is you're a Mason at large.
You still own you.
Yeah.
Wow.
You still have a billion-year contract with us.
Like the mob.
And you pay us.
And you pay us, yeah.
And then last but not least on the news is the BBC News article where the Derbyshire County Council Freemasons are told to declare membership. This is yet again the paranoia, I guess, of that pretty much European or English Freemasonry where everyone thinks the Masons are up to something and they are being forced in political arenas to declare that they are members of the fraternity.
Yeah.
This, you think it's 2014, this stuff would go away, and yet here we are still living with that.
It was kind of funny, right? A few years back, there was like a big scare, where anybody who was a police officer or in the judiciary type field, they were told they would have to do it. I don't know if that passed or not, but when the second I saw that, I don't know if have ever seen the movie. It's called Sherlock Holmes, um, Murder by Decree, and so it's interesting because at the end of the movie, uh, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, sorry.
La 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 la.
The Sherlock Holmes is basically in a courtroom yelling at judges who are all Freemasons covering up for a Mason who may or may not have committed the Jack the Ripper murders. So the whole idea is, he's like, you guys are all Masons, you guys are all in the judiciary field of work, and you guys are judges and lawyers, and you're covering up for a brother, right? So it's almost like they all saw that movie and said, "Hey, you're going to declare membership now."
Well, and I think back in 2007, they actually, there's the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know if, the UK is in that or not, but I remember that they actually had ruled against Italy, I think it was. I think it was Italy, it might have been another country around there, that they actually can't discriminate against you based on that because of a right to association. So, I mean, this has already been ruled on before that they can't be doing this, but they continue to anyway.
So this is illegal, you're saying, according to that.
I'm
rights
not a European attorney, so I don't know. But,
Funny, you strike me as one. It's kind of.
They're giving justification for this by saying during the apartheid, Freemasons were discriminated in favor of, and I mean it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's we're a system of morality and a brotherhood, but the morality means that if one of our members is not behaving morally, we have a right to kick that brother in the most friendly manner in the butt.
Mm-hmm. And it's very. I think one of the neat things that I've read, kind of countering that argument, is, okay, yeah, some people may be Freemasons, but also people are church-going people that go to the same church, or does that make those people that go to that church bad? Yeah, or that they all have the same hobby, they all like to whittle. It makes no sense of just because of one thing, the other. It's correlation without causality, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's those darn Lions Club members. They're ruining it for all of us.
And those elks.
Oh, those elks.
I blame affinity lodges. What are affinity lodges?
Nice.
Nice.
They take the association and the discrimination to the nth degree.
Alrighty. What does that mean? Let's talk about it. Affinity lodges. It's a different type, which I think most people what those are. The really shortest description of what an affinity lodge is, they are operating Masonic lodges made up of brethren with a shared affinity, with a shared interest. So what kind of interests could people have other than being brothers? Well, there's military lodges that meet on bases, and they have that shared in theater experience. There are research lodges that their sole purpose is really not to raise new brethren, but to focus on research and education. There are academic lodges that have special ties to universities, and we'll talk about that for sure, and a couple others. So, aside from Jason and I, who are members of an affinity lodge, do any of you have any familiarity with affinity lodges that you know of or have been to?
Sure. The one affinity lodge, the first thing, when you guys started talking about affinity lodges like a few weeks back, it's on a topic list. I said, that's a word that strikes me familiar, but I'm not quite sure I know exactly what that is. So, of course, being the procrastinator that I am, this morning I researched the heck out of it so that I would be familiar with it before the time for the show tonight. And then I realized that I do know of some affinity lodges, right? I mean, the other thing is an affinity lodge is not a club.
Very important. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an actual lodge. Sometimes they do work, sometimes they don't. But one of the affinity lodges that I actually researched quite a bit of was Henry Knox Lodge, which is an affinity lodge. It's a military lodge that only meets once a year, and it's only comprised of active duty veterans, or I shouldn't say active duty veterans, but active duty and veterans, and they meet on the deck of the USS Constitution once a year.
Whoa.
So I thought that was pretty neat.
How about Nick or Juan? You familiar with those?
Uh, yep. Actually, I'm a member of Iowa Research Lodge or Iowa Lodge of Research Number 2. You know, I consider Research Lodge as a little bit outside of the affinity thing, so I wouldn't consider it necessarily an affinity
Sure.
lodge. But here in Minnesota, I've been to at least a few. You know, we've got one that's called Churchill Lodge, number 351, and it bills itself as a British emulation lodge.
Mm.
And so they wear English regalia. See, they say British, but I think they mean English. You know, so
Sure.
Yeah.
so the Scottish guys, I know they're freaking out right now, but I think it's us Americans don't know the difference. So, um, but um, and so they wear the different regalia. They have a few more officers that are English, like an almoner and things like that, an organist. And I don't know if they're still attempting to get the permission to do emulation. Who knows? I don't know. But and I think it's a great idea. The idea of a affinity lodge. It creates kind of this community that an automatic community based around an idea.
Sure. Absolutely.
Interestingly enough, Nick, you've probably been to another affinity lodge or a lodge that could be considered an affinity lodge, which is Castle Island Virtual
Oh,
Lodge.
Well, yeah, technically that's true.
you see, have you ever seen the movie Tron?
Yes.
That's actually how you connect. It's very weird. There's a laser behind you, and then you just like,
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
just like that. And so, but yeah, I'd say Castle Island, Virtual Lodge number 190 would be considered that. I mean, it's essentially affinity. I wrote an article about this a while ago. It was entitled Destination or Theme, and the idea behind it was that you know it used to be lodges were based around a location. They were a destination, right? You go to your neighborhood lodge. In Minnesota, it was um, there was no such thing as concurrent jurisdiction. It was this neighborhood had this lodge, so this was the lodge you could petition. They'd even take the pencil out and take the skirt, and they'd figure out exactly where what lodge you can petition, right, based on your mileage, right? But then, it changed. Every lodge now has, it's essentially open season on any candidate, right? And I think that's a good idea because if you encourage these guys to join and they're coming in knowing that this specific affinity, right, whether it's an idea or a membership that you've already got, right, it creates it's already an atmosphere in which you feel comfortable, and
Mhm.
it'll just make you want to stay more.
Sure. So one type of those that I wanted to mention tonight was the concept of academic lodges. And so this is what I was alluding to. Jason and I are members of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. And I'm very proud to be one of the first few ever past masters of that lodge because we were just chartered in 2011. And the fascinating thing about what we did is we tried to model the academic schema that was done in England. It was started in England with Oxford and a couple other lodges over there. It's since transferred over. The oldest American-based one, I think, is Harvard Lodge. And what we did is we kind of studied how that evolved and a little bit of history of Patriot Lodge. What happened is in Northern Virginia, some past masters' sons had gone to Mason University, and in the university, they happened to talk to another brother just because he recognized them wearing a square and compass hat. He says, "Hey, are you a member? I'm a member too," and was very excited to find another Mason on campus. And so they got to talk, and they said, "Hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we actually had a lodge that meets on campus, and one thing led to another, and here we are. And so we looked into what Harvard had done many years ago, and they started out as a Masonic club. It was just a group of already made Masons that were meeting in the evenings and just kind of hanging out as brothers, and then they decided to make it formal with an association to the university. So that's really where the university schema fits in. What makes something an Affinity academic lodge is when there's a relationship to the university and that specific lodge. So in the Patriot Lodge's case, what we do is we have a working relationship with the philosophy department where we're sort of a student group, sort of not. We're really we've got enough members that we could actually apply to be a student group now. And what we do, the biggest difference between joining a traditional lodge in Northern Virginia and the George Mason Lodge is we make it so that way to get the degrees in Freemasonry, you must be a student, faculty, staff, or alumni of George Mason University. And that's to target that campus atmosphere and kind of recruit, without recruiting, that common interest of those people that meet on that campus. So the first reaction we got was, oh my gosh, you're being elitist and exclusionary. I mean, we can't win for trying, right? Everybody has an opinion to say about it. What's interesting is when you include that realm of people, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, I mean, that can include the janitor, that can include the gardener, include the dean, that can include the president, and they can all join that lodge if they so desired. So that breaks down those assumptions right away. Then they said, well, what about other Master Masons? I never went to George Mason. I'm not an alumni. Well, great. We made it so any Master Mason in good standing in our state can affiliate. So you can join as an affiliate member, like that guy down there, Jason Richards. And so he joined after the fact, after we stood up. He's not alumni or anything, but he really supports the cause, and I'll let him tell his story on that in a bit. It's been a fascinating journey. And we've been getting literally students walking from their dorm room into where we meet, and it's been really interesting that they're joining, they're telling their friends, and their friends are joining, and it's growing very organically that way. And so that's been working pretty well. Any new lodge has its own challenges of starting with no capital and starting up, but it's been fascinating. The Grand Lodge has supported us the whole way. And it's been a great experience. Jason, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting experience. One of the things that you have to think about with affinity lodges, a lot of cases where the lodges don't do their own work, or they're just getting started up, like in the case of the Patriot Lodge. Every Master Mason there who is a member has another mother lodge somewhere. Mm-hmm. So in the case of Patriot Lodge, we only have 8 indigenously raised Master Masons?
Yeah, now? About that. Yep.
Soon to be 9 or 10. Yeah.
They can ever call the only ones that can say that Patriot Lodge is their mother lodge. It's amazing.
So everybody else has another mother lodge that's claiming their attention. So you find with the limited number of brethren that the Patriot Lodge has, those brethren who are not indigenously raised are splitting their time between their own mother lodge and whatever other Masonic obligations they have. So it's been a little difficult to get some things done at times, just because we don't have the capital in regards to the indigenous membership that other lodges do.
Yeah, the human capital. Mm-hmm.
And another thing, up until this point, we haven't been able to put students into the line outside of like a couple steward positions and things like that. One academic lodge across the Potomac, the Colonial Lodge number 1821, with our good friend Morgan Core, who's secretary and past master there, they've actually been able to put students in their line, and they're doing a lot of really cool things with GW across the way. So, but we'll get there. It's just every lodge has its growing pains, especially when you're the first chartered lodge in like 25 years.
30, yeah. So since
30.
I've been born, there was the first charter. Like aside from consolidated lodges, like 2 lodges joined, or daylight lodges or anything like that, but an actual brand new institutionalized lodge, we were the first one in 30 years.
I have a question about the Patriot Lodge. Because it is an academic lodge, does that mean that the focus is more like a scholarly pursuit of Freemasonry, or is it just like any other lodge?
That's a great question. The good news is we have no traditions because we're so brand new that many things we do is often the first time we've ever done it. But that focus for the guys that got together and at least started the first line really started to think about what is that focus, right? Is it quality work? Is it emulation of traditional observance lodge movement? Is it based on research papers? And so the short answer is we're still figuring that out. But what things that we have done is we have focused on a scholarship to the George Mason student body. We have done high quality speakers and tried to focus on that, getting celebrities and interesting folks from around the community and around this DC area. And also, we've also tried to focus very much on the candidate's progress of understanding the ritual and the catechism, so much to include or trial running a pilot program called the Virginia Masonic University, which is like an extracurricular program for each degree, and it kind of walks through. Do you understand not only the symbolism behind the ritual and the degrees, but really the educational background? Where what's philosophy? How does that fit in? What's mysticism? How does that tie into fraternity? Where does fraternity come from? Why did this come from the Age of Enlightenment? Ask those kind of questions to help guide people in an additional capacity. So those are the types of things that we've tried piloting, and so it's been interesting. But we still, because we're the new kid on the block, we still have a lot of misperceptions. People try to think that we're trying to be up to no good or be snobbish or elitist, and it's really not the case.
And why is the reason that you're not able to put too many students through the line? Is it the length of time? Because I would imagine there are 2 to 4 years, and
right, they graduate. That's
okay.
a short answer.
And most of them are out of state.
Yeah, exactly. We had during my year, my chaplain bailed because he graduated, moved back to Arizona.
Wow.
So that we had to fill the chaplain's seat for the rest of the year, which that's easy to do because there's many brothers that will step up. But the good news is I don't look at that as a bad thing. I look at that as an opportunity, right? That this guy had a taste of an officer's position, even for 6 months, that he got to learn that and he got to take that back to his home state. So I don't see that as a negative thing at all. I don't think of that as a selfish Patriot Lodge thing. I consider that as a giving to the global fraternity.
Well, and another reason why we haven't been able to put a lot of students into the line is just the sheer fact that we've only been raising students for, what, 1.5 years, 2 years now?
Right, exactly.
So, if you think about it, that's like one election season. So we just haven't had the time to get ourselves established like other academic lodges. But
it'll get there, exactly. Go ahead, Robert.
So, academic lodges overall, I mean, I don't see that being I don't see an exclusivity to that, right? I mean, I think there's a very diverse culture and everything that comes into that. But like, if you look at the list of some of the other affinity lodges, right? Like I was talking to Nick Johnson earlier today. There is a karate affinity lodge, right?
Shotokan Karate Lodge.
Yeah, I mean that's the real deal. Everybody in that lodge has like a passion for karate. So I'm kind of torn, right? Because I think that I like the idea of the affinity lodge. Like maybe there's a lodge made up of police officers. Maybe there's a lodge made up of fire service guys. These kind of things. And one thing, a statistic that I read was, so like over in the UK, they said over half of the lodges are considered affinity lodges, so it's huge over there. So my thing is like, kind of, where would you say you draw the line, like on an affinity topic? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, with all due respect, karate lodge, cool, but I think it's a little ridiculous.
The Tyler has a katana.
So where would you draw the line? You
Well,
know?
that's we can actually take out an example. There's a lodge up in Canada. I don't know which province it is, but it's actually made up of almost Filipinos. So essentially, it's an ethnic affinity lodge.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're totally, all Filipino, but it's fairly obvious that most of the members are.
Yeah,
And does that ride the line of, like, cultural diversity? Like, you're being exclusive to, what if there was a lodge that was all white Christians? Do you know what I mean?
well, I see. We know that happens, right? Regardless, just because of the local aspect of lodges. But we actually wrote it into our bylaws that we are going to restrict new membership to students, faculty, staff, and alumni. So that's, whether it's people join because it's familiar to them, right? Other people of similar races or certain backgrounds. But we wrote it into our bylaws that this is how we're going to operate.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like,
that's the big difference there.
academics, is academics. It spans the gamut of cultural diversity, ethnicities, religion.
Yeah.
But like I said, when you come down to something like, we're Thomas the Train Engine Lodge number 6.
Yeah.
Well,
Sir
I
Topham Hatt, he's got the hat, so he's ready to go. So.
Sir Topham Hat, nice.
see in this case, I think it's easy enough to leave it up to the Grand Lodge jurisdiction to say, okay, what has enough potential to be chartered as an actual lodge, and what should be relocated to an informal Masonic club.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you just have to put the faith in the hands of the Grand Lodge members.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say Morgan Core, who we mentioned earlier, has actually tweeted us a couple times, and one of the things that he mentioned that I completely forgot about was, there are foreign language affinity lodges. There are actually two of them in D.C. There's La France, which is French, and then there's Arminius, which is actually conducted in German. Interestingly enough, La France does the original Scottish rite of Freemasonry, correct?
The first 3 degrees, correct.
Yeah.
They do the Scottish first 3 degrees. So if you're Scottish Rite, it's interesting to go back and see that. And what's really nice about that one in particular, when they do it, is they try to hold those events open for Enter Apprentices, Fellow Crafts, and Master Masons for anyone to see. It's just a completely different ritual for all that intents and purposes, but it's done in that Scottish style, which is really fascinating. I've never seen it. I've wanted to. It's just a great opportunity.
Style.
What'd you say?
I said the Scottish/French style.
Exactly.
Yes.
Scottish in air quotes. The other
is they have to open in French, so you have no idea what they're saying.
So, I want to join that lodge right now. I will never have to worry about a custodian yelling at me ever again.
That's funny. So the other type of affinity lodge I wanted to mention too was in Virginia we have the Civil War Research Lodge, which it's a research lodge, and I know Nick, you had your opinion that it's kind of borderline. Is it really an affinity lodge or not? But this definitely is, because their research papers are about the Civil War, and they go and do they go to Civil War sites around the state, and they recently went to Gettysburg and did all that. And what's interesting about their situation is, although they're a research lodge, they do the opening and closing as Master Masons, but they don't bring in any new candidates. So they don't initiate, pass, or raise any candidates at all. They do their work, they open and close, and they do the research, and that's it. So that's written in there that's all they can do. That's all they want to do.
I think in Florida is like that. The little that I know about affinity lodges in Florida is that, in particular, research lodges. Someone can start a research lodge and get together and have access to the libraries of the various lodges, including the Grand Lodge, but they can't confer degrees.
Mhm.
So the members of those affinity lodges have to be Master Masons in another lodge.
So really, the big question I have for you guys before we get into any of the social media is the fact that there is some limited constraints put on these things. Does that seem wrong? Does that seem elitist? Does that seem like you're restricting membership at all in any way?
I
Oh,
see it,
sure.
but I see it more as focused, though, not necessarily exclusionary, but almost like these are people that have a common desire, and they have an affinity for a subject or a particular style of writing. I imagine, so I love the idea of an affinity lodge that's based on um, scholarly papers, and that might help the brothers who join who might have a passion for writing but may not have a background in scholarly work. They're taught how to actually do proper research and do proper citation of other works, and go through that whole process to better themselves as Masons and help other people. So it's almost like you really like this style, there's something for you, you know?
Yep.
I guess it's a matter of perception, though.
I
I can
have
tell.
a
Oh, sorry. Go
question
ahead.
that I want to give you guys at the very end of the show, because I think it'll be fun. But I'll wait.
Okay.
Okay. For me, it's one of those. It depends on what the idea or affinity is, because I know there's a lodge in the middle of the country. I don't know where it is, but essentially, its membership is limited to police officers, prison guards, and prosecutors. Right? That makes me bristle a lot. I mean, that's just uncomfortable. The idea that you've got all these guys here, and immediately your thought is, well, all that stuff that they were talking about out in Derbyshire about how
Yeah,
they're talking
they
about
should
their
they should declare their membership. Yeah.
yeah, you're sitting there going, I mean, the ethnic ones, I'm cool with it. That's fine. It makes sense. We've been having it for, centuries now with the multiple language lodges, right? Like academic lodges, awesome. I mean, Roscoe Pound helped start Harvard Lodge, right? I mean, it's cool. The history and also the affinity, right? But when it comes to like certain occupations that are all meeting together and kind of, I mean, when I heard that that lodge was being formed, or the other one that's aimed at busy professionals, the one that we talked about a while ago. That busy professionals that
Rotary?
meet, yeah, Rotary Lodge or whatever it was. I mean, I get very, I'm like going, what? I mean, that's uncomfortable. You're
Yeah.
sitting there going, I mean, essentially they are saying, yes, we are elitist, and not in like a TO way. They're like saying, whoa, did I just say that about TO? Awesome.
We'll edit.
Uh, But yeah, I mean, certain ideas. I mean, I just kind of get uncomfortable. Especially the idea of
Mhm.
cops and prosecutors all meeting in the same lodge. I mean, yeah, I know. It's like
Yeah.
what? So
Mhm. Yeah.
I can see that.
All right, Jason, what have you got on the big wall?
Well, before you get to that, if I could chime in a little bit, I
Sure.
think affinity lodges are inherently exclusionary or exclusionary. I can't talk right now.
Hmm.
But is that necessarily a bad thing? Yes, we're all bound together in Masonry as a brotherhood of men under the fatherhood of God. But we can still have those common interests that bring us all together closer in our respective lodges, and I think that's a really cool idea.
Hmm.
As far as the Twitter feed goes, we've gotten some good feedback from Matt Botts, a friend who's a worshipful master of a Prince Hall Lodge here in Virginia, and he mentioned that instead of affinity lodges in the Prince Hall side, they actually have what's called the Philaxis Society.
Huh.
Okay.
And he actually had a question for Nick about what we talked about early in the show with the UGLE recognition of GLNF. And he was just asking if we know if they're going back to the way it was before they actually, rescinded their recognition with like full rights and everything like that, or if it's some sort of provisional recognition.
At least how I read it, it was a complete um, renewal of the recognition.
Wow.
You can actually look it up online. They actually have it on the UGLE's website. They actually released a full statement on like June 14th or something like that, which I think is Bastille Day, so that makes even more sense. But yeah, if you look on that, you should be able to get all the information you need.
Hey, also this week I learned UGLE has a Twitter feed. It's fascinating.
Yeah, they have one of the best social media presences online. It's
Cool.
just amazing.
Anything else, Jason?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, so for everybody listening in, we will actually post all that stuff on the show notes on www.theMasonicRoundtable.com. So make sure you check that out this week because we'll have a lot of good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, that's about it. We had another comment saying that some members of mainstream non-affinity blue lodges complain about affinity lodges pirating members from other lodges as far as recruiting affiliate members and things like that. Do you think that affinity lodges actively pirate members from others, or
That sounds like someone's insecure about their own lodge.
What it sounds like, to me, I look at that and I say, look, I've had brothers come to our lodge and then visit like 3 or 4 other lodges, and they'll tell me to my face, I want to see which one's best fit for me.
Exactly.
A member is going to go where they feel comfortable, where that lodge is at. How many times have you guys been asked, what lodge should I join? And then you'll tell them, and they'll say, the next question is, are they active?
Mm-hmm.
Members are going to, potential members are going to find the lodge that's right for them. And you have to give, if you're insecure about, if you think that another lodge is taking your members, why?
Yeah.
Is it because all you guys do is read minutes? Or is it because all you guys do is research and they're more into the philanthropic?
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends. I don't think anybody's out to steal members for sure.
No,
we need all we can
not
get.
at all. And honestly, Robert, if a prospective member were to come up to me and tell me exactly what they've said to you, I'd be like, good on you. You're going to make a great brother because you're thinking this through.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's what I tell anybody who asks me, like, what lodge they should join. I said, well, first off, you need to figure out which lodges are in your area, and then you need to go visit all of them.
Yeah.
Every single lodge has a different characteristic because the lodge is not the building. The lodge is the group of people who make it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so each lodge has an atmosphere as varied as the people who comprise it.
Yep.
So I'm going to give you guys my question.
Okay.
If every one of you right now had said, tomorrow you get to charter your own affinity lodge, no matter how outlandish, no matter how weird, what would it be?
The Masonic Roundtable Lodge, number 1. With only 5 members and the occasional visitor.
Okay.
It was either that or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Lodge.
Oh my god.
Number 1989, so.
Is that gonna have Venus de Milo, the female turtle?
No, we don't have women in our lodge.
Thank God.
How about you, Nick?
Let's see. The one that I've wanted to do for the longest time, French Rite Lodge.
French Rite.
Because I've either that or a Swedish Rite Lodge. The idea, it would be an affinity wrapped around the idea of a certain ritual type. Because for me, the Swedish Rite is some of the meatiest, best esoteric
Like that
ideas.
sweet Freudian stuff?
Yeah. And they have swords and hats and what?
Nice. Juan, how about you?
I would say Muse's Lodge number whatever, it's in order, and the focus will be the arts. It will be music, it will be visual arts, writing. So the focus will be on trying to get everybody to hone in their own craft and see how they can apply it to their. Actually, I'm gonna start filling papers.
I will join that. That is awesome.
That sounds really good.
I could draw a stick figure.
You're
But you
in.
play it. Somebody has to play an instrument while I paint. So
Lodge musician.
There you go. Jason, how about you?
Oh man. That's a hard one because this is
it
something
is.
I've thought about before, but
Okay, while you're thinking of that, RJ, answer your own question.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, mine's just a big joke. I was gonna say Lopan Lodge #1 from Big Trouble in Little China fan.
Johan.
Oh, jeez.
Indeed.
That's funny.
You know what
We're
old Jack
s-
Burton always says.
We're so watching that movie tonight.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, gents, we're running a little long, so why don't we start going around the horn, wrapping up, and give Jason a chance to finally come up with an answer. So, back to you, Jason. Last calls and shout-outs.
Doctor Who Lodge, number 12. Allons-y.
Oh, nice.
Whovians only.
Any other final thoughts?
Any other final thoughts? My experience with Affinity Lodges has been great. I love the idea of them, especially the academic lodges, because I love the historical research, and I think anytime that you can fuse Masonry and historical research and official paper writing is a good endeavor.
Great. Okay.
So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Visit my blog, 2-Foot Ruler, Masonry in Plain Language. And thanks for all the likes, links, and everything. You guys are awesome. Take a look at www.themasonicroundtable.com. And actually, one more thing to plug real quick. I was just, speaking of affinity lodges, if we are actually lumping traditional observance lodges in with affinity lodges, the Lodge of the Nine Muses, number 1776, in D.C., is actually having a feast of St. John the Baptist Tuesday night, June 24th. That's a week from tonight, actually. And they are going to they're going to be doing that for St. John's Day. It's going to be at the Warehouse Bar and Grill in Alexandria, Virginia. And you can go ahead and email us at theMasonicRoundtable@gmail.com for more information, and we'll post some other stuff with that.
Cool.
Outside of that, that's all I've got.
Awesome. Juan, how about you?
All right, I really enjoyed tonight's episode. I have a bunch of notes. Hopefully, the brothers and the people interested in Masonry that are watching this video, that they also go out and try to learn a little bit more about Affinity Lodges. I think it's a very interesting concept, and unfortunately, I don't think I have any nearby. But if I do, I'm going to find them very soon and learn a little more about them.
Very cool.
If anybody is going to be in the Central Florida area on July the 12th at 8 a.m. in Winter Park Lodge number 239, we're going to be celebrating St. John's Day, a little bit late, but it's going to be an official visit from the Grand Lodge officers of this year. And I'll have the privilege of giving a presentation that day. So I'm putting together a nice presentation. I hope if you can make it, for you to be there. I blog and I podcast at thewindingstairs.com. Please check it out. I have a new episode that just came out about Masonry, traveling in Masonry. So check it out. And freemasonryr.com, where I will officially publish the news about the Muses Lodge charter.
Wonderful. Great. All right, Nick?
Hi. Yeah. For me, I think affinity lodges are great. If you read my blog post, I think they're wonderful. But it depends on what the idea is. At some point, you sit there and the exclusionary nature of it becomes either uncomfortable or just such a small section that it can't survive, right? But I think in general, affinity lodges are fantastic. They make a lot of sense, And a lot of brothers, you know, I mean, people want to be around somebody who has a similar interest. You know, the Shrine has 1,000,000,000 clubs because of just that simple fact.
That's
And
true.
so, you know, we just need to be cognizant of that. You can find my blog at millennialfreemason.com. And you can find, actually, I was shown that I'm an idiot, that, you know, I've written like 300, 400, some million articles, so I can't remember. And so somebody showed me how to Google my own site to find those articles. So if you look for Affinity Lodge and then my site, or I'll put it in the show notes, you can read mine, and then a response from Brother Jack, a really good friend of mine, who said that he really, really does not like Affinity Lodges, and he makes a very good point.
Hmm.
You can also find me on reddit.com/r/Freemasonry. That's the subreddit for Freemasonry. It's a great place to go, really good community. Masonic Meme Monday was not very good, but it's getting better. I
Work on it,
will make
guys.
it better. Yeah, I'm trying. These guys are just killing, but we're gonna make it happen. You even get to read about my embarrassed face whale, or seal, or whatever it's called, about how I missed a flag ceremony that I was supposed to be in, and I was in my
Wah,
uniform.
wah.
So wah 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 wah. Wah.
Nice.
And also, one little event going on around my area. If you're around the Faribault area of Minnesota, we are going to be doing our annual St. John's procession to a house of worship. This year we'll be processing to the Congregationalist Church of Faribault. So if you meet at the lodge at around 9 a.m., we're going to be processing from there. Services start at 10. After that, we're going to have a picnic. And it's become an annual thing, and it's really great. It's really fun. That's about it. I'm signing off.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Robert.
All right, so thanks to everybody for watching the show. I'm gonna certainly look up some affinity lodges around. Um, very interesting concepts. I want to just quickly say we had some donations that came through to the TMR page. I just want to send out a quick shout out to everybody who donated. Um, Brother Steve Harrison donated recently. We had two other guys. Jason, who were those guys?
Yes, we had Brother George Owen and Brother Joshua Ney,
Cool. So
who
thanks.
also donated to us. We can't thank you guys enough. We pay for the hosting out of pocket, and that's a big chunk of money each month. So
So
that helps us a ton.
huge thanks to all those guys. Also, you can find me at wcypodcast.com, where I do my podcast, Whence Came You. I just want to thank everybody who came out to the Pennsylvania and Kingsbury Lodge last week when I was out there. Thank the brothers who hosted me and put me up in their house and fed me. It was just an amazing time. I really got to say thanks. Um, so I did have two events also. I just wanted to mention quickly. If you're in the Chicagoland, we have something here in Illinois that is recognized, and it's called the Widow's Sons Riders Association. So it's a motorcycle type club, and it's composed of Master Masons, and they have two events going on. They're doing. I'm actually just going to read this off my notes because I had to write it down. But Cornerstone chapter of the Masonic Bikers Association or Riders Association is going to have an all-day family picnic June 28th, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They're doing it free to all brothers and family and friends. It's going to be in Antioch, Illinois. It's all you can eat. There's going to be music and raffles and prizes and all that stuff. You can RSVP for the event on their Facebook page. They have an event page for it. And also, they're having a motorcycle rodeo on August 24th. And for a $20 donation, noon to 6 p.m., there's going to be like free beer, free food, all that good stuff. It's an adult-only event. There's going to be some live music and stuff. And the location is actually at an Oddfellows Lodge, Ben-Hur Lodge, number 870, in Richmond, Illinois. So a lot of good causes. Everything is benefiting the Widow Son Riders Association. And the second event, they're going to split the proceeds between Ben-Hur Oddfellows Lodge and the Masonic Riders Association, the Widow Sons. That's all I have. I just want to say thanks again, and I know I can be long-winded, so sorry.
And we've run out of time. Really, the last thing I want to say is to build off of Jason's comment. Really, every lodge is an affinity lodge because it's based around either your hometown, or with the brothers that you know, and we've said every lodge has character. Every lodge is unique, and the lodge is what the brethren make of it. And so, even without the concept of true affinity lodges, there is that chance where you can try out and test out the activity of a lodge, how active they are, how diverse they are, and that alone is part of the beauty of the fraternity, is that you're not just stuck to the closest geographic lodge to you. And so I think what also goes without saying is, if you live in a jurisdiction where you have the ability to be dual members, do that. Join those other lodges, so that way you still have your feelings towards your mother lodge, but also to try out and support those other affinity lodges, those other lodges that have different leanings that you also like as well. Not all jurisdictions do this, but it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor. You kind of have to pay twice the dues, but you definitely get something out of each and every lodge you go to, whether or not you're a member. So with that, support your Grand Lodge charities. Thank you very much for the donations on our website. We are keeping track, and it definitely helps us a lot. And so anything you can give would be great. www.themasonicroundtable.com. Thank you for joining us, and keep searching for more light. Thank you.